Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Kellina Crawford. Welcome back to another episode of Resilient Minds 365. I'm Kellina Crawford, your host. Guys, we have a wonderful guest with us today. We have Kellina Powell with us. Who is Kellina Powell? Well, Kellina Powell is a young entrepreneur who loves to help people with their personal growth and educate others about the deaf community. Little do people know, Kellina is actually a hard of hearing person. She became deaf at the age of 4. She recently graduated with a psychology degree and is now starting her own online coaching business while working on her book. With that said, I now present to you Kellina Powell. Kellina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, no problem. So tell us a little bit more about your profession. And I understand you're a student. So tell us about your profession and your studies, what you're studying and why you decided to do what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, definitely. So I did finish graduating from psychology. So now I have a psychology degree. The reason why I wanted to pursue psychology degree is because when I was growing up, I never had anyone that looks like me. And it was unfortunate that a lot of people I spoke to couldn't relate to my story. And they would give me advice, but it wasn't the advice I was hoping to get. So when I took psychology, I wanted to make a change in the disability community and the deaf community to allow them to get the voice heard, especially in the mental health field. Since there's not a lot of persons who have a disability in mental health field with psychology field. So it's very unfortunate. So trust me, people did not believe me when I told them, if you look up online and you look for disability psychologist, disability counselor, you're not going to see anything. So I did want to make the change in the disability community to help them and actually get them voice heard. And now I'm finishing up mental health in addition diploma. So that's where it's going to help me, have a better knowledge in terms of case management. So I did want to get more hands-on for my coaching business. And that's why I started my coaching business, because I do want to help more people, and especially for those who have disability. So I really do want to help those who feel like they can't find someone that looks like themselves.
Cool. I like that, the fact that, you saw that there was a need, and now you're just trying to fill that need by putting yourself in, rather than you saw that there was a need and then you just put yourself in there. So I love that. Thank you very much. No problem. So now we're going to dive into the mental health piece of the interview. So with that said, my first question is, what is your mental health diagnosis and when were you diagnosed?
So I don't have any mental health diagnosed. However, I do feel like I do get anxiety, like when I talk to her in person.
Mm-hmm.
Just because when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot of time, and I had a lot of hearing person, did not advocate for me. So when I got older, I got really more nervous being around the hearing community because I did not feel comfortable in my own skin to advocate for myself. And it was just unfortunate. I did develop depression over time because there are times where I did not want to interact with the hearing community, where I felt comfortable interacting with the deaf community. So it was very a lot for me, but yeah.
Okay. So I guess my next question is, so maybe you can tell us more about your mental health story of resilience. Like, how did you deal with your anxiety? How did you overcome? What did you have to do to, I guess, rise above being anxious all the time?
I would say the thing I did was honestly take a step back before I go out in public, because that's what I do to this day. Take a deep breath, I think to myself, like, you have to pull up your socks. And, sometimes you just have to really pull yourself together. But really, mainly what I do is before I interact with someone is keep having like a positive mindset in my head before I get myself out there, especially interacting with the hand community, and don't think the worst out of it. Because I used to think the worst out of it when I was growing up. And I'm like, oh my God, what if this person to help me? But instead, I had to trip my mindset. Like, okay, if this person does not help me, then that's okay. There's always going to be another person that's willing to help me. So that's how I kind of overcome my anxiety. But as well too, I did went to counseling. I did to help me a little bit in a way. They gave me some couple basic tools that could help me, but it wasn't really helpful because again, they're not deaf themselves, so they couldn't really help me that kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely how I overcome my anxiety with a hearing person.
Okay. So tell me, what did you have to do to overcome or bounce back from your lowest points? List all resources.
Definitely. That's a good question. I always get the lowest point sometimes. Especially when I'm out there, especially during COVID, it's very difficult because that was my lowest, and because of the mask, and I'm a lip reader, it really did affect me a lot of going outside because I avoid going outside, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go outside. But I honestly had to take a day. I would say one day, cry, sleep, do whatever I want to do, and then the next day get myself back up. And usually what I do is I listen to music. Music is my to-go-to, especially, driving, or I take a drive. That's what I really do. And resources I use, audiologists, I do speak to a lot of them to give me resources in terms of finance and, mental health. Are there any resources I can use? But that's pretty much all the resources I have. So.
Okay. And what are 3 things you wish you had available when you were at your lowest points?
Oh God, I wish I had a counselor that looks like me. So I can relate. That's my number one. Number 2, I kind of wish I had what's the called? I kind of wish that social media was more acceptable, because sometimes there's times where I want to take off my hearing aid and I don't want to hear the world. And so I'm very impressed that I have to put my hearing aid on. I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of work in social media because a lot of times people turn to social media for coping and trying to get their mind off. Sometimes I do that, but not anymore. Third thing I kind of wish I had was a lot more books about mental health. I feel like now, like, as things changes, there's a lot more books about mental health, but before there wasn't that much books about mental health. So I kind of wish that was there.
Okay. So being a woman with that is deaf, what do you feel that you're going to offer to the deaf community? Why do you feel that your voice is necessary in today's time, and to, I guess, to be a voice? Why do you feel that you are necessary, and how do you think you're going to be able to help?
I say that the reason for that is because there's a lot of lack of education about the deaf community. A lot of people are not aware of education. Second, you notice when you go to school, especially, that's where we learn things. We learn education. Our education teaches us, they feed things in our brain. But there's a lot of lack of information in the school system. Don't teach students how to be accessible for people with disabilities, including deaf person too. And third thing, there's no reputation on social media platforms. There's nothing. It's very hard to see a deaf person acting in film, movies. Just recently, there's a movie called Coda that came out. Coda came out, and it won the winning award. So it's kind of sad that why it took so many years for the deaf community to be seen, be heard for so many years. And that's why I shoot to come in that picture to help people be more accessible, especially on social media platforms, because a lot of people do not know how to use closed caption at all. Like, I have helped so many people. It's ridiculous. I was like, what? You guys don't know? I'm like, no, we never thought about it. So, it's very important to continue, and that's what I'm doing. Continue educating people, continue, and be consistent for the deaf community, because enough is enough. Like, why is it that we have to keep advocating for ourselves, ask you to do something where you should be doing something, and a lot of people are not being consistent. So that's why I come in picture, teach people how to be consistent.
Okay. So for you, you wear a hearing aid, so that's how you're able to hear people.
Yeah.
Okay. But for other people, they're not, if you are, I guess there are different degrees of people who have, that are deaf, right? I'm sorry, I'm not educated as to
it's okay.
So my question is, for those who have to use sign language only, how would they deal with social media? Like, how is that for them?
It's very difficult. And without the closed caption, they won't be able to hear. A lot of them don't go on social media. So a lot of them don't even watch TV, because some TV don't even have closed caption.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them watch more of Netflix, watch TV, more movies platform where they provide closed caption. And no matter what they do with the volume, they still can't hear. And that's why I keep telling people, you want to make sure your content is closed caption. There's people that completely deaf that can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very challenging.
Okay. Wow. No, it's really interesting, to learn about, other different communities and the things that they struggle with. There's some things you just take for granted,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot.
Definitely. So what words of hope can you give to our listeners?
Pardon, repeat that again?
What words of hope can you give to our listeners?
I would say that, don't be afraid to speak up. I mean, because no matter how bad your mental health is, you have the right to be spoken and your voice to be heard. I know a lot of people choose not to speak because they feel like no one's going to accommodate them because of their mental health. No, that's not the case. I want you to continue, keep going, get your voice heard, get the help you need.
Okay, perfect. So now we are going to switch gears a little bit on the interview. As you can see behind me, there's a book. It says The Music of My Life. That book is about my journey with mental health and music therapy. So with that said, I'm going to ask you, what type of music do you like?
I love listening to my Caribbean island music, so soca, reggae, and dancehall.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Awesome. So if you were to think of a song that best describes your journey, what would it be and why?
I would say Beyonce Run the World, just because I did suffer a lot. And I do, because a lot of times, as a woman with disability, I know that it's difficult, but I have to keep going and pushing. So with that song, it really said, like, I forgot what it started, but it was so catchy. And I was like, that is so me. I'm going to be the world of the woman. And so that's why I chose that song.
Cool. Love it. Okay. So how can we stay in touch with you? What are your social media handles?
So my social media, first Instagram is Deafness. Second, my website is KellinaEmpowerment.com. That's where you can find all my coaching business, update on my book that's coming out, and any update on the event.
And pardon me, what was the last thing?
All the events that we're going to be speaking on, because I do update all my events, like all my speaking engagements I've done, and my YouTube channel as well.
Perfect. Well, Kellina, it's been a pleasure talking to you. you know, I think you're going to offer a lot to the deaf community, and also just not just the deaf community, but you're going to be able to give a lot of awareness for people who don't understand that community. So kudos to you for sure. And no problem. And thank you very much for being a guest on our show. So with that said, one moment. To all you resilient minds out there, until next time, please subscribe to us on all our platforms. And don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Also, join the community Resilient Minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, on all Amazon marketplaces to get to know me better. If you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Kellina's testimonial, please share it with them. Feel free to take a screenshot of this week's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleone or Resilient Minds 365, and today's guest at Deaf Queen Boss, I believe, correct. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can strive, thrive, and live a life of abundance. Until next time, I'm Cleone Crawford, and I'm signing off.